Hello everyone and welcome to a wonderful game a lot of you were probably waiting for me to cover as soon as possible. It is the match Ukraine versus Hungary and we have Vasyl Ivanchuk versus Richard Rapport. So not one but two masters of the mystic arts. We are always in awe when watching either of them play and the two of them playing each other. That is all that one can ask for. So let's check it out. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but someone's king might end up in the center of the board. So let's check it out. Vasyl with white opens with pawn to d4. Knight to f6 by Richard. We have pawn to c4, pawn to g6, and knight to c3, and pawn to d5. So the Grunfeld defense is on the board. Knight f3 and bishop to g7. And there are many popular continuations here, some like queen to b3, bishop to g5, pawn to e3, captures on d5, but Vasyl goes for the fifth most popular, bishop to f4. But even this is played so much that it can be considered a main line. We have castles by Rapport and rook to c1 and bishop to g4 now. Now, usually c6, c5, d captures, and c4 is played here. Bishop to g4, almost no one plays it. There are maybe a couple of games in the database altogether with this bishop to g4 idea. We have pawn to e3 and pawn to c5. Not really sure when the game takes a turn into new territory. I can check real quickly, just give me a second. I haven't checked it out for this one. Okay, so already here, yeah. Okay, so there is a game where knight to h5 is played from 2014 between Arsen Kugmazov and David Paravian that ended in a draw, but here we have pawn to c5, and it is now already as of move 7 that we have a completely new game. So okay, we have d captures on c5 and bishop captures on f3, so giving up the bishop pair early on, but for what reason? Queen captures and now knight to e4, and it's a pretty standard setup that you would have in pretty much all of the openings where you have a fianchetto dark square bishop, a knight in the center, and the queen having access to a5. There's just so much pressure on white, and white would love this position if white could have a castled king and a developed light square bishop. But for now, white is definitely down in development. And how do you continue here? C captures on d5 is what was played in the game. But just to give you an example of how complicated it is, if knight captures on d5, then let's say queen a5 check. Okay, pawn to b4, nothing to worry about here. Queen to a3, attacking the rook. Now you're going to snatch another pawn with check, king to h8, and queen to d1 defending. But now for all of those pawns, you will win something back. You will give a check, and now after king to e2, knight to c3, a nice royal fork. White will have to give up the rook, something like captures, queen to b3, and you really have nothing better. You could go back, of course, if you prefer queens on the board, or you could capture, go for an endgame, because, yes, white does have scary pawns, but you are up the exchange. So something like this. But Ivanchuk plays c captures on d5 instead. Bishop captures on c3, b captures, and now queen captures on d5. By Rapport, we have rook to d1, attacking the queen, and queen to e6. And now rook to d4. Not allowing Rapport a moment's rest to develop his pieces. Rapport is down in development, and he would very much love to change that. We have knight captures on c5, and bishop to c4 with tempo. That was the original idea behind rook to d4. We have queen to c6, offering a queen trade, and Vasyl, of course, declines. Bishop to d5 also puts pressure on this diagonal. We have queen to b5, stopping Vasyl from castling, and now we have pawn to a4. Here, the tricky line that Vasyl missed is a bishop to h6, and it's not an easy move to make, even though it is winning for white. The reason why it's winning is that you have to allow this knight to d3 check, and it looks like such a weird check to allow. After king to d2, of course, Rapport would sacrifice the knight, bring your king up into the board, knight to d7, threatening knight to c5 check. You're going to have to play, or even better, knight to e5 check if the king and queen remain in the same place, just winning white's queen. But there is rook to b4. Again, another victory regarding the b4 square. And now after knight to c5 check, king to c4, the queen is still hanging, queen a3. Now you will capture the rook on f8. So you have a king on c4, but you're just gonna grab material. That's how top level chess is played. And after rook captures, you just continue development. Rook to d1, and everything is perfectly fine. Nothing can hurt you on c4. You don't have to worry about rook to c8 because that f7 pawn is hanging. So bishop to h6 here is what Vasyl should be looking at, but he played pawn to a4, and while not a terrible move in itself, is not as good as bishop to h6. We have knight to d3 check, king to d2, and now queen to b2 check. Rapport sacrifices the knight, king captures, and now knight to a6. It looks like, okay, Rapport is just playing weird moves as usual, but he's actually threatening a very nasty checkmate. If you allow the knight to land, this wasn't played, I'm just showing you what the threat is. If you allow a silly move, then knight to c5 check, king c4, queen b3 check, and that's it. King captures on c5, rook 8 to c8 with check, and there's no defense. You can start giving up material with something like bishop to c7 or bishop to c6, but then even b6 is checkmate. You don't even have to allow white to capture with the queen. So that's why rook to c4 is the only move, and Vasyl plays it. So rook to c4, and now rook 8 to d8. And interestingly, we again reach a position where bishop to h6 is the move that Vasyl should play, or something like rook to d1, but it seems that he just doesn't want a free rook, well, a free exchange, because after bishop to h6 and e6, which is the idea of rook to d8 to win the bishop on d5, you'll play bishop captures, and now after king captures, something like pawn to e4, e captures, and you are doing okay here. As long as you control that c5 square, you're doing okay. Something like b5, rook to c6, and okay, the game continues, but it's perfectly fine. So that's why after rook 8 to d8, bishop to h6 is a move Vasyl should play, but he played bishop to e5. It looks similar, but it's very much different because now his position is lost. But it's still not easy to realize why. There will be one, such a crazy move that the Rapport has to find in order to win this, that you guys will have a great pause the video moment. We have pawn to e6, of course, going after the free bishop. Queen to f6, now Vasyl threatens checkmate, and now rook captures on d5. Only move that wins for Rapport, but not a difficult one to spot, because you cannot allow Vasyl even a single move. And now the problem is, how do you defend here? Let's say you play rook d4. Seems like a reasonable idea. You're still threatening checkmate. Well, now you've lost control over the c5 square. Knight c5 check, king c4, and queen to b3 will be checkmate. So that doesn't work. If you try to block with the bishop d4, then e5 is the problem. And again, the queen-bishop combo is disconnected, and now you can play e4 or something, but it doesn't matter. Rook captures on d4. And after c captures, queen b3, and that's pretty much it. You lose the rook, or you block with the rook, and then knight to b4 with check, and you will lose the rook, whatever you play. King to d1, or king e1, or king d1, you will capture here. And you're not just down a knight, you're also getting checkmated here. So let's say you capture here, and queen to d3 check, king e1, and knight to c2 will be checkmate. So Vasyl in big trouble here, even though he's so close to checkmating Rapport. He plays king to e4, which is not odd. That's why I'm probably going to use this as a thumbnail. We've had a couple of games where Vasyl had his king in the center of the board. There's the famous one against Wei Yi, I think, that he won. But yeah, not unusual, and only one winning move for Rapport, but again, not a difficult one to spot if you know what to look at. Rook captures on e5, king captures on e5, now his king is on e5, and now queen to e2 by Rapport, going after the rook, and rook to d4. And it seems like Vasyl has everything under control. Yes, his king is on e5, but how are you making any threats here? There is but one way, and you guys will help Rapport figure it out. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Richard while I give you a couple of seconds. So, for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on always looking for a move with the knight back, and against Chucky no less. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is knight to b8. Because, okay, now I will tell you how to find a move like knight to b8. What is Chucky's idea here? Chucky's idea is, of course, rook to d8. Once rook to d8 is played, you're either winning or drawing this game. There's no possibility you lose this game. So knight to b8 gets the knight into the game while stopping rook to d8, which is Vasyl's only counterplay. Now rook to d8 would be met with knight to c6 check and, well, say goodbye to the rook and the game. So after knight to b8, rook to d6 was played. Okay, no, you're not getting fork at least, but now queen to c4. We have queen to f4 by Vasyl. Other moves aren't that much better. Like you could bring the rook into the game, rook h to d1, then comes knight to c6 check, and you have to give up the rook and suffer in this endgame. But Vasyl played queen to f4, and it was in this position on move 26 that Vasyl Ivanchuk resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. He didn't even wait for Richard to respond to queen to f4, because there is only one response, and that of course is pawn to f6 check. Once this is played, there is no move for the white king. You have to play queen captures on f6, and then, okay, you can simply capture right away, or you can first give a check, knight c6 check, because it's more precise, and after captures, queen d5 check, and only after the king moves, you will capture the free queen now, and after the king moves, you will either go for checkmate, something like queen e5, queen g5 check, or capture on c6. I mean, everything is winning. You're up a full queen. So yeah, brilliant game. To give you a quick overview, so bishop to f4 line against the Grunfeld attack. This is also called the Hungarian attack, and they're playing against Hungary, so I don't know if Vasyl was making a little joke there, or maybe he just prepared that, or maybe he just felt like it. I never think Vasyl prepares for games. I think he just sits there and then gets brilliant ideas. But okay, bishop g4, incredibly rare line, and here we had some fun with rook d4, Vasyl getting a beautiful position where a4 was the misplay. And okay, a situation on the clock was as it was, not really an issue. Bishop to h6, Vasyl never going for that material, was the cause of his demise here. Knight a6, brilliant move. Rook c4, still an equal position, but now after bishop to e5, he collapsed. Just captures, and a few moves later, knight to b8 landed, and now pawn to f6, and okay, there's nothing more to be done here. After queen f4, he resigned. So yeah, beautiful stuff by both of them, but it is a Rapport who is the better master of the mystic cards this time. Who knows what will happen next time, and I will inform you guys probably in the video, in the next video of the round 5 of the Olympiad, on some of the other games that were played, and also in the next one I'm gonna show you the main game and also a couple of others that you guys suggest. So keep using that hashtag suggestion. Really makes it easier for me to spot those beautiful games. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Professor Hexagon, William Gould, John Anderson, Anthony, and Littleman for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. Continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions, but mostly covering the FIDE Chess Olympiad until it finishes. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.